Morning, sir. Seriously? Have you thought about a drawbridge?
It looked like a cosy corner shop full of laughs and lovable quirks. But behind the shelves of open all hours are secrets you never expected. Fact 1. David Jason became iconic as Granville, but he wasn't the original choice. The role was initially offered to actor Richard Beckinsale, famous for Porridge. Beckinsale had scheduling conflicts and declined, paving the way for Jason. Ronnie Barker personally recommended Jason for the part. Their chemistry would define the series' heart and rhythm. Without this last-minute switch, the show might have felt completely different. Beckinsale's more subtle style wouldn't have matched Barker's booming presence. David Jason's twitchy charm became essential to the show's balance. He brought nervous energy to Granville, highlighting Arkwright's dominance. Producers were shocked how quickly audiences took to Jason. This decision launched Jason into sitcom legend. It also solidified the pairing as one of TV's most memorable duos. The switch reshaped both Jason's career and British comedy history. Few fans realise how close it came to being a completely different show. Had Beckinsale said yes, Open All Hours may not have lasted beyond one season. Jason went on to become a national treasure. And it all started with this unexpected casting twist. The show's dynamic simply wouldn't work the same way. Jason gave Granville emotional depth despite the comedy. Even Barker admitted later that Jason was perfectly cast. It's a reminder how fragile sitcom magic can be. One small change and the show's legacy could vanish. This near miss remains one of British TV's biggest what-ifs. Casting choices can make or break a sitcom in seconds. In this case, it made Open All Hours immortal. Fact 2.
Every morning, though, it's this, isn't it? You're going to do it once too often and your hands are going to burst into flames.
The original script described Arkwright as eccentric, but speech wasn't mentioned. Barker improvised the stammer during the first rehearsals. He believed it added vulnerability to an otherwise bossy shopkeeper. The producers loved it and asked him to keep it in. Barker based the stutter on a childhood acquaintance. But the BBC was initially nervous about the portrayal. They feared audiences would complain about mocking speech disorders. Instead, viewers embraced it as a lovable quirk. Barker later revealed he had second thoughts. He worried it might overshadow the character. But the stutter became iconic in British comedy. It gave Arkwright a nervous edge that softened his greed. Barker was careful never to overdo it. He said timing was everything with that delivery. The stutter even became a challenge for writers. Scripts were adapted to suit Barker's rhythm. Fans still debate whether it was offensive or genius. Barker always defended it as affectionate. He said it gave Arkwright a human flaw. Today, it's one of the most remembered aspects of the show. Proof that sometimes the best character traits are accidental. The stutter wasn't planned, but it made history. Without it, Arkwright might have felt flat and one-dimensional. That single quirk turned him into a sitcom legend. Fact 3.
Can't move round here for grocers in your bosom.
The exterior of Arkwright's shop wasn't a set. It was an actual corner shop in Doncaster, South Yorkshire. Locals shopped there even while filming was happening. The shop's real name was Lister's Stores. It became a tourist attraction during the show's run. Sometimes extras were real customers caught on camera. The store owners agreed to let filming happen during off hours. But some scenes were shot while business continued. David Jason once helped an old lady carry her groceries mid-take. Locals adored seeing their neighbourhood on national TV. It added authenticity to the show's charm. Interior scenes were filmed in a studio, though, but many exterior shots used the actual streets. The neighbourhood became part of the show's DNA. When Still Open All Hours returned years later, they used the same shop. It was refurbished but kept its vintage look. Some fans still visit the location today. The shop stands as a real-world shrine to the sitcom. Very few sitcoms use such consistent real-world locations. It grounded the comedy in everyday life. A true corner shop in more ways than one. This little store helped make Open All Hours timeless. and it still draws nostalgic fans nearly 50 years later. Its walls carry decades of TV history. That real shop turned fiction into something unforgettable. Fact 4.
Maybe I ought to join the Hungarian Navy. I wonder if they have a cavalry section.
Granville's iconic bike scenes weren't as effortless as they looked. David Jason didn't know how to ride a bicycle properly. The show required him to awkwardly pedal down tight alleys. He took lessons but still struggled with balance. Crew members often ran alongside him just off camera. He crashed several times during early takes. One crash left him with a sprained wrist. Rather than remove the bike scenes, writers leaned into the awkwardness. They made Granville appear clumsy on purpose. Jason said it became part of the character's charm. Fans assumed it was intentional physical comedy. But it was pure accident turned genius. Granville's bike became symbolic of his life, off balance and going nowhere. Jason dreaded every biking scene but never complained. He once joked, "That bike deserved a BAFTA." It was heavy, old and hard to steer. He often filmed in freezing Yorkshire mornings. Slippery roads made the scenes even riskier, but they became some of the show's most iconic moments. Granville wobbling down the street is burned into viewers' memories. Jason's determination won over the crew. What started as a problem became comedy gold, and fans still remember the struggling cyclist with a smile. That clunky bike became a character in its own right. Sometimes, the best laughs come from real-life struggles. Fact 5.
Good morning, sir. What can we steal for you?
Though the scripts were tight, some moments were pure improvisation. Ronnie Barker loved to throw in extra lines during takes. David Jason followed his lead and added facial expressions or gestures. The scene timing often shifted because of their ad-libs. Writers initially resisted these changes, but the energy between Barker and Jason was electric. They rehearsed together constantly, fine-tuning scenes. Some of Arkwright's mutterings were made up on the spot. Jason's surprised reactions were often genuine. The best gags came from spontaneity. One famous gag with the till snapping shut wasn't in the script. It was an idea during blocking rehearsal. The prop till was real and extremely painful. Jason's flinches weren't acting, they were real injuries. The till even broke once from overuse, but Barker insisted on keeping the gag. Fans looked forward to that slapstick routine. It became part of the show's DNA. Improvisation gave the show an unpredictable charm. You never knew what Barker would say next. It felt fresh, even after multiple viewings. And that spontaneity helped make Open All Hours unforgettable. Their chemistry couldn't be faked or scripted. That spark of improvisation kept the shop alive. Fact 6.
Why don't you do something with that till?
The famous snapping till wasn't just a prop. It was a real antique cash register from the early 1900s. The mechanism was old, stiff, and had no safety catch. Every snap on David Jason's fingers was completely real. Jason's hand was bruised for most of filming. Ronnie Barker loved the gag despite Jason's pain. The prop department tried padding the edges, but Barker said it ruined the sound and look, so Jason kept risking his fingers every episode. He joked it was the most sadistic co-star I ever had. The sound of the snap became part of the show's identity. Writers even added scenes just to use the gag. Jason developed a technique to pull his hand away fast, but the timing was tricky and often failed. Fans thought it was hilarious. Jason thought it was torture. The BBC considered replacing the till with a replica. Barker refused, saying it had character. The antique till now sits in a museum. It's one of British TV's most famous props. Jason still calls it the Beast. This painful little gag became an essential part of the show. Proof that comedy sometimes hurts. Literally in this case. It turned a simple prop into television legend, and Jason's bruised fingers into a piece of comedy history. Fact 7. Open All Hours didn't start as a full series, and it began as a single episode in the BBC's 7 of 1 anthology. Ronnie Barker starred in all 7 pilots as different characters. The idea was to see which ones audiences loved most. Arkwright's episode was an instant hit with viewers. The BBC greenlit a full series based on the response. Another pilot from the same anthology became Porridge. That means 2 iconic sitcoms were born from one experiment. Barker nearly chose the prison comedy over The Shopkeeper, but the BBC let him do both simultaneously. It was a huge workload for Barker at the time. He switched between Arkwright and Fletcher weekly. Fans couldn't believe he balanced both roles so well. Without 7 of one, neither show would exist. This makes Open All Hours a rare success story. A single pilot changed British comedy history. Barker later said he was shocked at the response. He thought the miserly shopkeeper was too small for a full series. But audiences loved the everyday charm, and it proved simple, character-driven comedy could last decades. That one pilot created an enduring classic, all from a little Yorkshire corner shop. Sometimes the smallest ideas have the biggest impact. One test episode built a TV empire. Fact 8. Few fans knew Barker had a secret side career. He wrote several episodes of Open All Hours himself. But he didn't use his real name. Instead, he used the pseudonym Gerald Wiley. Barker wanted the scripts judged on merit, not fame. He submitted them anonymously to the BBC. Producers had no idea Wiley was Barker. Even fellow cast members were kept in the dark. Only after years did he reveal the truth. Barker had done the same with the 2 Ronnie sketches, and he said writing kept his comedy sharp and personal. Using a pseudonym removed pressure and ego. Some of the show's funniest episodes were his work. Jason said Barker's writing style was tailor-made for the characters. Fans noticed subtle differences, but never guessed it was him. This secret identity added depth to Barker's legacy. It showed how much he shaped the series behind the scenes. He wasn't just the star, he was part of its creative engine. Gerald Wiley remains a legend in British TV writing circles. Open All Hours owes much of its wit to Barker's hidden pen. Even today, fans respect that double contribution. A true craftsman on and off camera. It proved Barker's genius went far beyond acting. The show's humour carried his fingerprints everywhere. Fact 9. Ronnie Barker drew inspiration from a real shopkeeper. He once lived near a small corner shop in Oxford. The owner was notoriously tight-fisted and suspicious. He'd mutter under his breath exactly like Arkwright. Barker loved his quirky mannerisms. He even borrowed the shop's layout for the show's set design. The real shopkeeper had a habit of overcharging. Barker exaggerated that into Arkwright's miserly nature. Locals who knew the man recognized the character instantly. Barker never revealed the shopkeeper's name. He said the man would have charged me for the rights. This real-life influence gave Arkwright authenticity. It wasn't just a caricature, it felt lived in. Barker always said comedy came from observing reality. Granville's nervous energy also came from a real shop boy Barker knew. He blended traits from multiple people into one character. The result was a shop that felt like every British corner store. Fans saw their own local shopkeepers in Arkwright. That familiarity made the series timeless. It captured a slice of British life perfectly. Proof that the best sitcoms are rooted in truth. Arkwright was fiction but based on a very real man. It added a layer of authenticity no script could fake. Real life became comedy gold in that little shop. Fact 10. Despite its later success, Open All Hours nearly stopped early. The first full series had modest ratings compared to other BBC hits. Executives debated cancelling it to free up schedule space. Ronnie Barker argued to keep it alive for another run. He believed the characters needed time to grow. David Jason backed him, saying audiences would warm up. The BBC reluctantly gave them a second series. That's when the show's popularity exploded. Word of mouth turned it into a household favourite. By the third series, it was a ratings juggernaut. Barker later said the near cancellation terrified him. He called it a shop nearly closed forever. Jason credited the second series with saving his career. Had the BBC pulled the plug, Granville might never exist. Fans today can't imagine British TV without it. It shows how fragile early success can be. Sometimes shows just need a little more time. Open All Hours became a staple for decades, but it almost disappeared after just 6 episodes. That second chance created TV history. A reminder that patience can turn a small show into a classic. The little corner shop nearly shut its doors before it even opened. Every classic deserves a second chance to shine, and this one proved exactly why.